Okay, welcome math friends. Today we're going to look at solving equations. The concept that you need to understand about solving equations is that the whole process is to try to get the variable by itself on one side of the equal sign and some constant on the other side of the equal sign. That's the process. That's what we're going to be working on doing. So let's start with this equation. We have our variable. We're adding 6 to it. I need to get the x by itself. So the way I can undo this plus 6 is by subtracting 6 on this side, because positive 6 minus 6 is going to give me 0. If I do that on this side, I must do that on this side. So the 6's add out. I'm left with x on the left side, and on the right side, 13 minus 6 is 7. And I can always check my answer by putting the 7 back in for x. 7 plus 6. 7 plus 6 is 13. I get a true statement, so that is correct. This time, we have a 5 and it's being multiplied by the x. So the way we undo this 5 or get rid of the 5 is by dividing this side by 5 so that those 5's will divide out. If I do that on the left, I must do it on the right. The 5's divide out. I'm left with x, and 30 divided by 5 is 6. And I can check that because 5 times 6 is 30. You get 30 on both sides, so that answer checks out. Now we've complicated the problem just a little bit because we are subtracting 9. We're also multiplying by a 2. We always get rid of the things that are being added or subtracted to the variable first. So I need to get rid of this negative 9, so I'm going to take 2x minus 9, and to make that negative 9 disappear, I need to add 9. If I do that on the left, I need to do that on the right. These add out. I'm left with 2x. 9 plus 1 is 10. Now I can get rid of this 2 by dividing by 2. Those will divide out, leaving me with x. But if I do that on the left, I must do that on the right. 10 divided by 2 is 5. So we get x equals 5. In this case, we have an x term on both sides of the equation and a constant term on both sides of the equation. It really is best practice to get the x terms together on the same side first before you start trying to isolate just the x variable. So I have a 4x and a 6x. I think I'm going to take and get rid of this 4x on this side. That's a positive 4x, so I need to subtract 4x. If I do that on the left, I must do that on the right. So these are going to add out, which was the whole purpose. I'm left with 6 on this side. 6x minus 4x, I'm going to combine like terms. I get 2x minus 5. Now I need to start isolating the variable, so I get rid of what's being added or subtracted. So since I have a negative 5, I'm going to add 5 so that those will add up to 0. If I do that on the right, I must do that on the left. These are going to add out. Over here I get 11. Now I'm going to divide by 2 so that those divide out and it leaves me with x. If I divide by 2 on the right, I need to divide by 2 on the left, and I get 11 over 2. which I could change to an improper, to a mixed number, or I can leave it as an improper fraction, depending on the context of the problem. Okay, here we go with another one where we've got variable terms on both sides. I have a negative 2x. I think I'm going to get rid of that negative 2x, so I'm going to take 6 minus 2x and add 2x so that those will add up to 0. If I do that on the left, I must add 2x on the right. So I added 2x here, so those will add out. I have to add 2x here. These add up to 0, which leaves me with 6 equals 9x plus 2x is 11x minus 5. Now I'm going to start isolating the x variable, so I'm going to get rid of what's being added or subtracted. So in order to get rid of this negative 5, I need to add 5 so that those will add up to 0. If I do that on the right, I must do that on the left. These add up to 0. I get 11x. 6 plus 5 is 11. Now I can divide by 11 and divide by 11. 11's divide out, and 11 over 11 is 1. And I can check that answer by plugging the 1 in for x and see if I get the same thing on both sides of the equal sign. If I do, then I got that correct. Now we're going to complicate the problem even further. Now I have multiple variable terms on each side and multiple constant terms on each side. So the first thing I'm going to do is get everything together. I'm going to get these a terms together. 5a and 2a is 7a. Negative 2 and positive 4 is plus 2. On the right side, 6a minus 4a is 2a. Negative 1 minus 8 is minus 9. Now I need to get the a terms on the same side, so I'm going to take this side and subtract 2a. It doesn't matter, I could take this side and subtract 7a. I typically look and see which of the variable terms are smaller and get rid of it, but either way it does not matter. But if I subtract 2a on the right, I need to subtract 2a on the left. The 2a's add out, leaving me with negative 9. 7a minus 2a is 5a plus 2. I need to get rid of that 2, so I'm going to subtract 2, so those will add out. I need to subtract 2 from this side. The 2's add out. I'm left with 5a. And on this side, negative 9 minus 2 is negative 11. Now I can divide by 5 and divide by 5. The 5's divide out. I'm left with a and negative 11 fifths. Process is still the same. I'm whittling the equation down so that I end up with variable terms on both sides and single constants on each side. Then I start getting the variable term together on the same side, and then I start pulling things away from the variable term. All right, let's see, what are we going to do here? We have parentheses, so we know that we don't like to keep parentheses. We need to get rid of them. So I'm going to use distributive property and distribute the 3 over the 2d and over the 3. This gives me 6d minus 9. Over here I'm going to use distributive property. 4 times d is 4d, and 4 times 5 is 20. Now if you notice, we have the same situation where I have a variable term on each side, a constant term on each side. I'm going to get the variable terms together first, so I'm going to take 4d, subtract 4d. If I subtract 4d on this side, which is going to make those add out, I need to subtract 4d. On this side, the 4d's add out to 0. I'm left with 20. Over here, 6d minus 4d is 2d by combining like terms, minus 9. Now I need to start pulling things away from the d term, so I'm going to first of all add 9 to both sides. This way the 9's add out to 0, and I'm left with 2d. 20 plus 9 is 29. Subtract 2, or I'm sorry, divide by 2. Divide by 2, the 2's divide out. I'm left with d equals 29 over 2. Oh wow, look at this one. Here we've got a bunch of variable terms, we've got some parentheses, but the process is still going to be exactly the same. I'm going to first of all distribute a -1 over each term in the parentheses, so I get 4y minus 3y plus 1, -1 times -1, plus 2y minus 9 equals, distribute the 2 over each term inside the parentheses, I get 2y minus 4 minus 4y plus 2. Combine my like terms, 4y minus 3y is y, plus 2y is 3y. Positive 1 and -9 is -8. On this side we have 2y minus 4y is going to give me a -2y. -4 and positive 2 is going to give me a -2. So again, we've gotten the problem whittled down so that we have variable terms on both sides, constant term on both sides. Now I need to get the variable terms on the same side. So in this case, I'm going to add 2y to this side so that those will add up to 0. If I do that on the right, I must do that on the left. The -2y and the positive 2y add up to 0. I'm left with -2. 3y plus 2y is 5y minus 8. Now I'm going to add 8 so that those will add up to 0. I need to add 8 on this side. The 8's add out. I'm left with 5y. -2 plus 8 is 6. Now I divide by 5. Divide by 5. Y is equal to 6/5. 6/5. Alright, so if you'll look back, every single problem, we had the same exact process. We whittle it down to where we have a variable term on one side, and on the other we have a constant term on each side. We eliminate a variable term on one of the sides, leaving us with just a variable term. Then we start removing the constant and then dividing by the coefficient to end up with our final answer. Alright, that's our episode. Thanks again for watching, and we'll catch you on the next one.
If you liked this video, please click on the thumbs up. If you want to see more videos like this, please click on the subscribe button. And if you want to be notified when new videos are posted, please click the bell.